Honor your parents before you have to stand at their grave. I used to think there would always be more time, more chances to pick up the phone, more time to stop by for a visit, more time to sit at the kitchen table and ask the questions I never got around to asking. I always thought I could honor them later, when I wasn't so busy, when life calmed down, when I had the right words. But time doesn't wait for when we're ready. It just keeps moving forward, one quiet moment at a time. And then one day, you find yourself standing at a graveside holding all the words you meant to say. There's something so final about a funeral. It doesn't matter how many people show up or how beautiful the flowers are. It's the silence that lingers afterward that gets you. The silence of a voice you'll never hear again. The absence of hands that once held yours without hesitation. And in that space, what rises is not just grief, but reflection. You start to replay the last conversation, the last hug, the last time you were impatient, the last time you said, "I'll call tomorrow," and didn't. And suddenly, that ancient commandment, honor your father and your mother, feels a lot more urgent. But that urgency doesn't come from guilt. It comes from love that's waking up. It comes from the realization that God didn't give us that commandment just for the sake of structure or obedience. He gave it because He knew something about the way we're wired. He knew how quickly we forget the hands that raised us, how easily we minimize the ones who made quiet sacrifices day after day. He knew we'd grow up and start building our own lives, and how easy it would be to leave theirs behind in the process. This isn't a message meant to weigh you down. It's a message meant to wake you up to something sacred, something tender, something powerful. Honoring your parents isn't about perfection. It's not about paying them back or performing. It's about acknowledging the truth that they matter, that their presence, their past, their pain, their love, it all matters. And that honoring them while they're still here is one of the most holy human things we can do. So before you have to stand at their grave with a heart full of unspoken words, I want to talk to you, not as someone preaching from a distance, but as someone who understands the ache of regret and the miracle of second chances. There's still time, and what we do with it can change everything. There's a strange comfort in constancy. When someone is always there, always doing, always giving, it becomes part of the background music of your life, so familiar that you stop hearing it. That's what parents often are. They're the quiet rhythms beneath your story. They cook the meals without being asked. They sit through school plays, fix flat tires, pay the bills, check your fever at 2 a.m., and wait up when you're running late. They do it not for applause, but because it's what love does. And because they do it so often, so consistently, it becomes invisible. It's not until years later, when you're older, maybe with kids of your own, or standing in an empty kitchen once filled with their voices, that the silence forces you to notice. Suddenly, the things they did seem massive, the sacrifices hit harder. The patience, the persistence, the quiet endurance, it all becomes painfully clear. The Bible tells us in Proverbs 23:22, "Do not despise your mother when she is old." But long before she's old, we're already tempted to overlook her. We get busy, distracted, caught up in our own ambitions. We start treating our parents like supporting characters in our personal success story, when in truth they laid the foundation. Maybe not perfectly, maybe not without mistakes, but they showed up. And showing up day after day is a kind of love we often don't fully grasp until it's gone. There's a story hidden in the wrinkles on your father's face, in the tired hands of your mother. It's a story of years where they chose you, above rest, above comfort, above themselves. And chances are they never asked for thanks, but that doesn't mean they don't deserve it. In Deuteronomy 5:16, God says, "Honor your father and your mother, as the Lord your God has commanded you, so that you may live long and that it may go well with you." There's blessing in honor, not just for them, but for you. And it begins by simply noticing again, by refusing to let their presence be taken for granted. So maybe today, the first step is to see them, not as fixtures in your life, but as people who've carried more than you ever knew. People who loved you before you could say thank you. People who still think of you every single day, even when you haven't called in weeks. The truth is, they won't always be there. And when they're gone, you'll miss even the things that once annoyed you. The reminders, the questions, The quirks. You'll wish you could go back and sit at the table again, just to hear their voice, just to say, "I see you now. Thank you." But you don't have to wait for loss to see clearly. You can start honoring them right here, right now, before the moment slips past you again. Regret has a way of echoing loudest in silence. Not the silence between two people standing in a room, but the silence that follows after someone's gone. The kind that leaves you playing the last conversation on repeat, wishing you could rewrite. The kind that whispers, "Why didn't you just say it?" So many of us carry around words we never released. Simple things like, "I love you," "I'm sorry," "thank you," or even just, "I see how much you've done." We think there will always be time to say them. We assume there will be another day. And then life surprises us in the worst way, with an empty chair, a final breath, a closed casket. It's easy to believe that our parents just know how we feel. And maybe to some degree they do. But love was never meant to stay hidden. It was meant to be spoken. Jesus told the story of the prodigal son in Luke 15, not just to illustrate repentance, but to show the power of returning. The younger son came back to the father, humbled and broken, but the father didn't wait for perfect words. He ran, embraced, forgave, and in that moment, every word that needed to be said was felt. But we aren't always given that moment. Sometimes we're left with a voicemail we didn't return, a visit we postponed, a letter we meant to write, and the weight of what we never said starts to haunt the spaces where healing could have lived. Maybe you have a complicated history with your parents. Maybe they weren't easy to love. Maybe you didn't feel loved the way you needed. Even so, even there, the power of words remains. A sincere thank you, even if it's for the little they could give. And "I forgive you," even if it's spoken with trembling. And "I'm sorry," even if you don't know how to fix everything. Honoring. Our parents isn't about pretending the past was perfect. It's about bringing truth to light with grace. It's about letting your heart be soft, even when life made it hard. And sometimes that starts with just one sentence, one word you were afraid to say. Don't let fear hold your voice hostage. Don't let pride keep you from peace. Speak while you still can. Write the letter, make the call, look them in the eye and say what you've been carrying. Say the things that matter, not when it's easy, but when it's real. Because when the day comes that you're left with silence, you'll want to know that you emptied your heart, that you gave them your love in full, while they were still here to receive it. There is healing in words spoken, and there is mercy in knowing you didn't wait too long. One of the strangest moments in life is the day you realize your parents are no longer the strong, untouchable figures they once were. It doesn't happen all at once. At first it's small, a forgotten appointment, a slowed step, a confused look when you explain something that used to be second nature. Then suddenly you're filling out their medical forms, driving them to doctor visits, reminding them to take their pills. The roles begin to shift, and it hits you. They once carried you. Now it's your turn to carry them. There's a quiet kind of grief in that realization, not just for who they're becoming, but for who they used to be. You see flashes of the mother who used to scold you gently for staying out too late, now needing help down the stairs. The father who taught you to ride a bike now forgets where he placed his glasses. There's beauty in this exchange, yes, but there's also a deep ache. It's the ache of watching someone you love slowly return to childlike dependence, and knowing that the tender strength they once offered you is now what they need from you. And this too is part of honoring them. The Bible speaks directly to this. In 1 Timothy 5:4, Paul writes, "If a widow has children or grandchildren, these should learn first of all to put their religion into practice by caring for their own family, and so repaying their parents and grandparents, for this is pleasing to God." Notice that, repaying. Not because love keeps a scorecard, but because love, real love, remembers. It remembers the meals cooked, the tears wiped, the nights stayed up in worry. And in remembering, it responds with compassion. It's easy to say, "I love my parents," when all they need is a phone call. But what about when they need your patience and their forgetfulness? Your forgiveness when they become irritable or stubborn? Your sacrifice when caring for them begins to stretch your time, your wallet, your heart? Jesus on the cross, with the weight of the world on his shoulders, still took a moment to honor his mother. In John 19:26-27, he looked at John and said, "Behold your mother," entrusting her care to him. Even in suffering, Jesus remembered. Even in death, he honored, and we are called to do the same. You may not be in that season yet, but if or when it comes, don't see it as a burden. See it as a sacred opportunity, a holy exchange, a chance to love in return for all the love that built your life. And yes, it may be messy, exhausting, emotional, but it is also deeply, deeply pleasing to the heart of God. In a world that often discards the elderly, we are invited to be different, to remember, to protect, to serve, to sit quietly beside a fading voice and whisper, "You're not alone, you were there for me, and now I'm here for you." It's easy to think we're honoring our parents because we send money, pay for things, or make sure they're comfortable. And those are good things, important things. But they're not the whole picture. You can write checks every month and still leave a void in their lives. Because the truth is, what many parents long for isn't financial support. It's you, your presence, your time, your voice calling them just to say hi, your hand reaching out, not just when they need help, but because you want to be close. They may never say it outright, but the loneliness of aging is real. And often what hurts most isn't physical pain. It's the feeling of being left behind. We live in a world that's fast-paced, constantly demanding our attention. And in that rush, the people who were once our entire world get moved to the back of the line. We assume they're fine because they don't ask for much. We justify our distance because we're busy providing. But presence heals in a way provision never could. In Exodus 20:12, when God commands us to honor your father and your mother, it's not limited to financial duty or acts of service. Honor is about relationship. It's about seeing their worth while they're still here to be seen. Think about how often your parents sat through your childhood moments. They showed up, sometimes tired, sometimes stressed, but always there. The parent at the school play, the quiet figure in the carpool line, the one who waited up until you got home. Their presence shaped you. It created a foundation of love and safety, even if imperfect. And now they long to feel that same nearness from you. You don't need to do grand things, a visit, a shared meal, a walk in the park, listening, really listening, to their stories, even if you've heard them before. These moments are the currency of love. And one day those small choices will become the stories you remember. You'll remember the afternoons you sat on the porch together, the days you picked up the phone instead of scrolling past. You'll remember the look in their eyes when they felt seen again. Don't underestimate the power of simply showing up. Isaiah 58 speaks of the kind of devotion God treasures. It's not flashy or performative. It's quiet, compassionate, rooted in justice and presence. Verse 7 says, "Is it not to share your food with the hungry and to provide the poor wanderer with shelter? When you see the naked, to clothe them, and not to turn away from your own flesh and blood?" Not turning away. That's the key. Not avoiding. Not postponing. But turning toward them, again and again, with love that chooses presence over excuses. Your parents may not say it often, but when you walk through their door or call just to talk, something in their heart softens. Something in their spirit breathes because your presence says you matter still. And that's a kind of honor no gift can ever replace. It's easy to talk about honoring your parents when your story is filled with warmth. When your memories are safe, your childhood was secure, and love was given freely. But what about the ones who didn't get that? What about the people whose parents were absent, harsh, abusive, emotionally unavailable, or simply broken in ways that left deep wounds? What does it mean to honor your father and your mother when doing so feels like walking back into a house made of glass shards? This is where Scripture calls us to dig deeper. Honor doesn't mean blind approval. It doesn't mean pretending everything was okay when it wasn't. And it certainly doesn't mean tolerating abuse or putting yourself back in harm's way. God is not asking you to lie to your heart in order to keep a commandment. He is inviting you to heal. And sometimes honoring our parents begins with forgiveness. Not because they deserve it. Maybe they don't. Maybe they never apologized. Maybe they still don't see the damage they caused. But forgiveness isn't about excusing their behavior. It's about releasing yourself from the hold it has on you. It's about refusing to carry the bitterness into every other relationship you touch. Forgiveness is a gift you give to your own soul, and it opens the door for redemptive honor, an honor that tells the truth, but does not return evil for evil. The Bible says in Colossians 3:13, "Bear with each other and forgive one another if any of you has a grievance against someone. Forgive as the Lord forgave you." That doesn't mean minimizing trauma. It means inviting God into it. It means asking Him for the strength to see your parents not just as who they were to you, but as human beings, shaped by pain of their own. There are times when honoring your parents looks like setting healthy boundaries, speaking truth with grace, or choosing not to engage in cycles of dysfunction. There are moments when it means grieving what never was, mourning the childhood you should have had, and laying it before God in honest prayer. But even there, even in the brokenness, something sacred can rise. When you choose not to let bitterness write the rest of your story, when you choose healing, you reclaim your heart. And in doing so, you honor the God who created it. Sometimes, honor looks like showing mercy to someone who doesn't know how to ask for it. Sometimes it means refusing to speak evil of someone who wounded you. And sometimes it means simply praying, "Lord, I can't fix this, but I trust you can bring peace to the places I never could." If your relationship with your parents is complicated, take heart. God sees it. He knows every tear you cried, every ache you buried, every question you still carry. And He is not asking for perfection. He is asking for a heart that is open to His work, even in the hardest places. You don't have to reconcile everything to honor your parents. You just have to be willing to let God meet you in the mess and show you how. And maybe, just maybe, your healing will become the beginning of a new legacy. There is a moment that no one is ever fully prepared for, the moment you see the world keep moving after someone you love has taken their last breath. The cars still drive down the road, the sun still rises, but you are no longer the same. Something inside you shifts and you realize they're gone. Not just out of town, not just asleep, gone. There's something sacred and terrifying about standing at the grave of a parent. You feel the weight of everything they were to you, and everything they weren't. You remember the bedtime stories, the discipline, the arguments, the laughter, the awkward silences, the long drives, the quiet meals. You remember the things you wish you could relive and the things you wish you could undo. And most of all, you remember what you never got around to saying. "I'm sorry. I forgive you. I didn't realize how much you gave. Thank you. I love you." These are the words that echo loudest when the casket closes. Grief doesn't come with a script. It comes in waves, sometimes triggered by the smell of their favorite meal, a song on the radio, or an old photo tucked away in a drawer. And what hurts most is not just the absence. It's the finality. You realize how many days you let pass without calling. How many times you could have visited but didn't. How much time you spent distracted by things that now seem incredibly small. In Ecclesiastes 3, we're told that there is a time for everything. A time to be born and a time to die. A time to mourn and a time to dance. But nowhere in that list is there extra time. We don't get to bargain for another month, another week, another hour. That's why honor matters now. Because when you reach the day when there are no more conversations to be had, no more hands to hold, no more birthdays to celebrate, you'll want to know in your soul that you gave them your best, that you honored them with your presence, your words, your attention, your love, that you didn't wait until they were gone to realize how much they mattered. And if that day has already come for you, if you've already said goodbye, you are not alone. God sees you. He walks with the grieving. He collects your tears. And He still gives you space to honor their memory, to heal what was broken, to live in a way that carries forward the good they gave and lays to rest what they couldn't. You may not be able to go back, but you can still go forward, with a heart that remembers well and a life that honors fully. Because the greatest tribute to your parents is not just in what you say at their funeral. It's in how you choose to live now, and that choice is still yours to make. There's a kind of grace in knowing you still have time. Maybe your relationship with your parents hasn't been perfect. Maybe it's been distant, or complicated, or full of misunderstandings and hurt. Maybe you've gone weeks, months, even years without saying the things that matter. But if they're still here, if they're still breathing, then you haven't missed your chance. Not yet. It doesn't take a grand gesture to begin honoring them. Sometimes it starts with something as small as a phone call, not because you need something, not because it's a holiday, just because they're your mom, just because he's still your dad, and that alone makes them worth reaching for. The Bible says in Malachi 4:6, "He will turn the hearts of the fathers to their children, and the hearts of the children to their fathers." That's God's heart, to restore, to reconnect, to heal. And sometimes it happens in quiet, ordinary moments, over coffee, during a slow walk, or while folding laundry together. You don't need perfect words, you just need presence. You just need willingness. Start small. Ask them about their day. Ask them about their childhood. Let them talk, even if the stories repeat. Let them share the parts of themselves you never thought to ask about before. There's treasure hidden in their memories, and you'll be amazed what surfaces when you simply show interest. If your relationship has been strained, take the first step. Write the letter, send the message, show up. Not because you're responsible for fixing everything, but because honoring them is less about what they've earned and more about what God is inviting you into. A chance to live out love, a chance to reflect Christ. And maybe they won't respond the way you hope. Maybe they won't open up the way you want. That's okay. This isn't about control. It's about obedience. It's about honoring God by honoring the ones who gave you life. Time is a gift, and so is the ability to choose love today. Maybe your parents are older now. Maybe they're slowing down. Maybe you've seen that faraway look in their eyes, the one that quietly says, "I'm not who I used to be." Or maybe they're still strong, still stubborn, still independent. But even that doesn't last forever. Every moment you give them now, you're giving your future self peace. You're building memories that will one day hold you together when grief tries to pull you apart. You're choosing honor while it still matters, while they can still feel it. Don't wait for the hospital bed. Don't wait for the funeral. Don't wait for the guilt to finally crack you open. You don't have to live in regret. You can live in response. Respond to the truth that your parents, imperfect as they may be, were chosen to bring you into this world. And while they're still here, you get to choose how you carry their legacy. You get to decide how the story continues. It's not too late, not today. We live in a world that's gotten so good at honoring people once they're gone. We write heartfelt tributes, post old photos, deliver beautiful eulogies with tears in our eyes and lumps in our throats. We send flowers, gorgeous, expensive, bouquets to sit beside a headstone. And yet somehow we miss the most sacred opportunity, to give those flowers while they're still alive, to smile and say, "Thank you." There's something holy about honoring people while they can still hear your voice, while they can still hug you back, while their hearts can still receive what your heart has been holding. The fifth commandment: honor your father and your mother, was never meant to be a burden. It was meant to be a blessing, a rhythm of love that goes backward and forward, rooting us in gratitude and carrying us into grace. Honoring your parents isn't about waiting for the perfect relationship. It's not about paying them back for every sacrifice. It's about waking up to the truth that this time you have with them is sacred, fragile, fleeting, and full of potential. So give the flowers now. Call them today, even if you don't have much to say. Sit with them in silence. Ask about their favorite song, their childhood fears, their dreams that never got fulfilled. Let them talk and really listen. Say the words that have been waiting inside you. I'm grateful. I see you. I love you. And if your parents are already gone, it's okay to cry. It's okay to grieve what you lost and what was never quite right. But let that sorrow shape your heart, not harden it. Let it lead you to live differently, with your own children, with your siblings, with your aging neighbors, and with the God who holds us through every generation. This life we have is short, but in it, we're given 1,000 small chances to love well. So take this one. Don't wait for perfect timing. Don't wait for holidays or dramatic turning points. Don't wait until you're standing at a graveside, full of words you can't speak anymore. Honor them today, while they're still here, while their hands are still warm and their laughter still fills the room. Give them flowers now, while they can still smell them.